QAX Wealth Management has been part of Jamaica's financial landscape for 2 decades, helping investors to grow. Now the company is stepping into a new phase and expanding into investment banking and capital raising. So it's the perfect time to sit down one-on-one with CEO Herbert Hall to discuss this new chapter. All right. Hi, Herbert. Great to have you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
So, Cumax has been in the wealth management and investment business for over 20 years. But for anybody who might not be familiar, tell us what Cumax is and what are the suite of services that you offer.
Sure. So Cumax is actually 86% owned by the Jamaica Corporate Credit Union League and 14% owned directly by credit unions. And incidentally, Jamaica Corporate Credit Union League, which is JCUL, is 100% owned by credit unions. So essentially, we are 100% owned by credit unions. So we just last year celebrated 20 years, right? And we offer a gamut of services to our clients, both institutional and retail clients, including pension fund management and administration, wealth management, advice, and portfolio development. We also are a broker, dealer, and as such, we offer stocks and equities.
Okay, and so I can buy my stocks through you.
Correct. And up till recently, we were the only authorized entity to trade on the Canadian Stock Exchange, but that has now been shuttered by the stock exchange. So we also are an investment banking outlet. We've recently started our investment banking arm, where we are offering a gamut of services, including...
Yes, tell me about that.
Sure, including helping companies to raise capital on the stock exchange or, through the private market, through private placements of debt and equity. We also assist companies who want to do a merger or acquisition, and pretty much we guide them through that process, right?
So investment banking is different from brokerage.
Investment banking is different from brokerage. So investment banking is where you actually assist companies to raise capital for whatever purpose they may want, whether it be for retooling, to acquire other assets, other companies, or simply because they have a need for capital, right? We also assist with balance sheet reengineering. You have some companies that may have a lot of real estate, but they don't necessarily need to own the real estate, but just need the use of it. And so we are able to assist in monetizing that real estate through a REIT structure.
So
or sale and lease back, sort of.
What made you venture into that at this time?
We wanted to make sure that we have the entire gamut of services to properly address the needs of our clients. And we realized that there was a gap in our offering, and a significant gap. And so we moved expeditiously to, get that unit up and running so that we can close that gap pretty quickly, because we're seeing, especially in the SME space, where there's need for capital. And we're ideally positioned to help those entities, as well as larger entities, raise capital through the various services and that we offer.
Is there any minimum amount that you may be seeking to raise that can cause you to come to a Cumax?
So what I would say is that companies so the value proposition, right? So companies who want to raise anywhere, I'd say, from 100 million. And you are aware that there is a GMD, sorry, and you're aware that there is to come the micro market, which will start at 50 million. And so we would also want to align ourselves with that. So I would say from, say, 50 million, if you want to list on the micro market, and I know that our good friends at the stock exchange will speak more to that market in due course.
Yeah, very soon. Well, I don't know if they're still on track, but they had said April as their timeline.
My understanding is that we're on track for April.
Wow, that's going to be huge.
It is. It's really a game changer for the market because it is understood that there are certain changes that will be made to the existing framework, right, to accommodate some allowances for the smaller entities, right? So you've always heard about the cost of compliance,
Right.
and one of the main things that I am aware that the stock exchange wants to do is to lower the cost of compliance, not compromising on compliance, but lowering the cost. So I, without giving out more, because I also sit on a committee, product development committee of the micro market, but that is something that has been contemplated.
I'm glad you mentioned cost
Right.
because especially for those SMEs and now the new micros that are going to be coming perhaps to you, hopefully to you,
Hopefully to us.
cost is can be a prohibitive factor.
Right.
So what type of structure do I need to have a whole heap of money before I can come to you to say maybe I want a list, or how does it work?
No. So again, the fundamental thing is what's the value proposition for that MSME, ensuring that they have a good business case. All right. Unfortunately, we won't be looking at startups, unfortunately, because of the inherent risks
Right.
associated with startups. But once there is a structured business, and even if you don't have all the other necessities that are required, we can help you and walk you through that process to get those things in place. You don't have to have a lot of money, once you are
Do you
organized.
build it into the offer?
Yeah,
For your
what we
fees,
will
I
do,
mean?
so what we will do is to ensure that you have the structures that are in place to enable you to list, right? And we can always look at walking you through that process in terms of fees and so on. For us at this juncture, especially as it relates to the micro market, or whatever the nomenclature of that market will be, we want to see that it does pretty well, and we'll do all that is in our power to ensure, or to assist, including perhaps waiving some fees. Who knows?
Okay. Because I usually do see when they break down the use of proceeds, there is paying for the cost of everything
Right.
included. So you don't necessarily have to come with the funds already. That's your job to find the funds.
That's correct.
And then you take your piece.
That's correct. So typically in IPOs, the fees are paid on the back end, and typically how we would arrange it is on a success basis. So if the offer is not successful, you're not on the hook for paying any fees.
Okay.
Right. So typically that's how we would have arranged transactions, and it gives the issuer or the entity that is seeking to raise capital that confidence that you have skin in the game, and you will be doing all in your power to ensure that the offer is successful.
Right. Now, you mentioned at the beginning that Cumax is essentially wholly owned by credit unions. So the credit union league, and then that one owns the next one. Basically, fully owned by credit unions.
Right.
How does this impact your governance structure and your approach to growth?
Right. So it's a interestingly asked a question, because there's a discipline that is innate in the credit union movement, and if you recall, there would not have been a credit union, well, a member of any credit union would have lost any funds, right? So there is a discipline and a way of ensuring that there is that governance that inures to the benefit of the members. And as such, that similar philosophy, right, which is also grounded in people helping people, is a part of our DNA. And as such, when our approach to business is not just profit driven, but it is also grounded in needing or wanting to actually help companies to grow. At the end of the day, your success is my success. And it is also the success of the country and of the region on a whole. So we have that DNA that essentially, you know, allows us to do some of the things that other brokers in the space would not necessarily want to take on,
Such
and you'll
as?
see. Well, so there's one school of thought and yeah, there's one school of thought that in order to engage in any of the advisory services, there needs to be a lot of fees involved, for argument's sake. We don't necessarily take that view. And that is why we're able to commit some time to developing, for example, the micro market. That is why we're able to, speak with some of the smaller entities and work with them, because we're not only profit based. Yes, we are a limited liability capitalist type institution, but we are capital markets type institution, I should say. But we have that DNA which says we have an obligation to help, right? And so that creates, the framework for how we operate,
No,
and that makes us different.
no, it really does, and it's reassuring. Do you have to be a member of a credit union to access your services?
No, 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 no. So let me dial back a bit. So although we are 100% owned by credit unions, we offer services to all of the players in the market, including other corporates, other investors who are not members of credit unions, right? So incidentally, Cumax was before now known as credit union fund managers. But in 2020, we would have rebranded because the recognition that the mandate and what we have been offering to the credit unions, we need to spread it to a wider client base. And as such, we have changed the name from credit union fund managers to Cumax. And we are offering the services to the entire investor base.
What does that stand for, by the way, QMAX? Credit Union Maximum?
No, it doesn't. Actually, no. But the CEO is really still paying homage to the credit union.
Right.
But it's QMax. It doesn't really have a meaning. It's just
Okay.
QMax Wealth Management Limited.
Well, I'm going to say Credit Union Maximum.
Oh no, it's not.
Maximized. Something might have been the inspiration, who knows? But as a licensed securities and brokers dealer with the FSC, been doing
Correct.
this for some time, how does that give investors confidence, and not just investors, businesses who may be coming for your expanded services,
Right.
the investment banking and the capital raising? How might that give them confidence that you're good for your word, you can do what you say you're going to do?
Right. So again,
Especially in this investing climate post
yes.
2023.
That's
We all
correct.
know what happened in 2023.
That's correct. So not only are we compliant with the regulations of the FSC as well as the JSE, because they are also our regulators from a broker standpoint, but our own internal governance processes hold us accountable, right? And yes, it is always important to know that there is an external third party, a government entity that holds you accountable. And as such, that also gives people the confidence, investors the confidence to know that, yes, we are not doing anything that would jeopardize our own integrity, their funding, and we're really and truly living up to the obligations that we have.
That's important because people have to know that they can trust you.
That's correct. And in this business, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. I mean, the moment trust is eroded, it's the moment you are no longer able to conduct business. Persons aren't going to give you their money if they know that something is happening over there. I'm not quite sure no, I think they'll prefer to hold their money, elsewhere or under their beds. So confidence and is very important, as well as for the regulators to ensure that there's that discipline of compliance, you know. So very, very important, very, very important. So we could say we're as much in a money business as a confidence business. Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Trust is extremely important, and we see what happens when trust is eroded. We've seen the past couple of years what happened to the entire market
That's correct.
because of that incident. Now, there are some initiatives that you're working on. I know you've been there for a year and change now. You've been leading Cumax. What are some of the things that you want to see to take Cumax into the next 5, 10 years?
Yeah, so we've been doing a lot behind the scenes, and we've been quietly doing quite a bit. Chief amongst them would be our digitization strategy. So we would have recently launch a soft launch of our digital onboarding platform, which now allows our clients from wherever they are to open accounts with us and start their wealth management or their wealth creation journey with us. We're also working on a number of other complementary technological innovations, which I don't want to speak too much about now. But in the long run, and not too far from now, our clients will be able to, get some of the offerings that allow them to use their devices and see their accounts and, do a number of other things through an app or interface with us.
Very important.
Very, very important. And we're seeing where the adoption of our digital onboarding is going pretty well, despite it being soft launched less than a month now. And we are hopeful that the other initiatives that we're doing, will also be successful. So one of the other things that I spoke about earlier was our investment banking department, and we, for us, that is a very important aspect of our business going forward. So I'm seeing that area will play a greater role as we not only seek to enhance businesses generally through their capital, getting capital for them, but also helping them along the advisory trajectory. Right? So it's all good and well to say you want to raise capital, but are you optimizing your balance sheet, for example? Are you, doing the strategic things that are necessary to almost guarantee growth and success for your organization? So we want to play a greater role in that story, that growth story of our clients, and by extension, Jamaica.
And that brings me to, ties in with my last question,
Sure.
which is about where do you see Cumax in the next 5, 10 years? What's the vision for this company?
Sure. So we will be a significantly technology-enabled entity, delivering significant value for our clients, be it retail clients or institutional clients. We want to be the go-to investment bankers, where we are known for handholding our clients. We are known to be able to deliver on what it is that we're said that we're going to deliver. We want our clients to rest assured that once we have gotten that mandate from them, they can sleep easy knowing that their aims and objectives and the funding that they need will be delivered by QAX Wealth Management.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Herbert.
Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Okay.
Big plans and bold direction for QMax Wealth Management as it steps into this next phase of growth. Thanks to CEO Herbert Hall for joining us and breaking down what this expansion means for investors and businesses alike. You can keep up to date with QMax Wealth Management through their official channels. And as always, follow us at kalila.money and moneymediaja on Instagram for the latest updates and news. Let's get this money.